Hey guys, before we get this episode going, I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors, the Fillmore Denver. As they're celebrating their 20th anniversary tour, they're bringing the fire for concerts. We got big shows coming all through April, starting this weekend with the Big Melt, and we got some Electric Doom as well. Be sure you're following them on Instagram at Fillmore Den and at Live Nation CO to be up to date with all the giveaways, tickets, merch, anything that they're trying to help spread the good word. And then if you are looking for tickets, go over to the FillmoreAuditorium.com and you'll be able to access all of the tickets that you would like to catch all these shows that are coming down the pike. Without further ado, we want to start this party, but I want to give everybody a forewarning. Kip screwed up the editing again, second time in as many months. Shout out to Mark Levy for the first time and being supportive of us. But Josh, we also want to say thank you so much for sitting down with us. We look forward to recreating the second half of this conversation again, maybe over at your other locations, but we do apologize for all the constant mishaps that I seem to create. So y'all enjoy this episode with Josh Pollock from Rosenberg's Deli, and we will look forward to next week of Stoned Appetit. Cheers. It's okay. We'll just have a good time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week in No Vacancy Colorado, Stoned Appetit. This week we're coming to you, it's obviously Bama and Kip per usual. We're coming to you this week from Rosenberg's Deli, the most, I'd say, famous deli that we have in Denver, well known for their bagels, but also for their long-standing relationship with the community over here in the Five Points area. So we're hanging out with owner and I guess I won't say founder, but I'm going to ask you the whole nitty-gritty about it. Rosenberg's Deli, Josh Pollock. Josh, thank you for joining us, brother.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, his last name is not Rosenberg.
Yeah.
Joke's on you for those that definitely try to throw that one. And I was probably going to assume, so I'm glad I would have said Josh from Rosenberg.
Sure, yeah. No, my name is Josh Pollock. Rosenberg's is a family name. It's my mother's maiden name. That's what this place is named after is my mom. We lost her while I was in high school, so this is in homage to her. And on that side of the family, fifth generation, born in New York City. They're all Brooklyn people and Flatbush, and so this is the food we ate growing up, and wanted to bring it out here to Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah. So I guess it almost answers our first question, but right. Chris, we like to start this party, Josh, in a specific way, and Chris usually does that in a fantastic fashion. So we'll get this party started. I want to know the nitty-gritty of the New York relations, so let's get it going. Chris, lead the way.
So we normally ask you, are you a transplant or a native?
Yeah, well, so I jumped the gun on that one a little bit, but yeah, definitely a transplant. I've been in Colorado for 17 years now.
Okay, whereabouts in New York did you grow up?
I actually grew up in North Jersey, Bergen County, New Jersey. I was born in Manhattan, and we soon moved over to the bridge to Jersey. Had a little more space to spread our wings out there, and lived out there until college. That's kind of what brought me out here.
How'd you end up here for college?
I guess when I was younger, I think it was like 13 or 14, I came out here on like a little backpacking trip. And absolutely fell in love with the mountains. Lesser known fact about New York is we have mountains, we have wilderness back there. It's some of the largest protected parks in the country are in upstate New York.
Thanks to those Rockefellers and
exactly,
shit, right?
Yeah.
Are you talking
farms.
Adirondacks?
Yeah,
the Finger Lakes?
Yeah, the Catskills, the Finger Lakes.
Look at us name dropping.
There
We're
you
like
go.
Regulars.
We would have the cliffs that overlook, northern New York is where we would go hike and, get out there in the wilderness, smoke bowls and kind of walk around. And I really absolutely fell in love with the outdoors and didn't want to get too far from the city, so we were visiting schools when I was looking at colleges. My pops definitely wanted me to be somewhere closer to the East Coast, and I got in all those schools. But the second we came to visit Boulder, I think it was like a dark night or whatever. We came in, we're staying at the Buff. It's not there anymore. It used to be at Best Western, and so it was completely dark. And then we woke up in the morning, and boom, the Flatirons are just right in your face. And that was the moment I knew I wasn't ever going back.
I mean, and I've heard the same. So obviously we're both Southerners. So, and that's one thing that sold me the same kind of way. Like we used to come out here skiing, and so I was like, this place is goddamn amazing.
Oh yeah.
And so it hooks you. And I hear the same thing for like CU and then the Air Force Academy. I don't know how many folks have the luxury of going to school at the Air Force Academy, but apparently if they get you on campus, they got you.
Yeah.
Because you never leave. You're just like in a gorgeous. So I can see how they sold you as well, especially coming from the city, but still having the outdoors.
Coming from the East Coast, it was amazing. I mean, you know, everyone has this common misconception that Colorado's cold all the time. You know, we did have a little bit of a rough couple weeks in winter here, but for the most part, the weather's better here than anywhere else in the country. You know, parts of California excluded, but definitely compared to the East Coast. I mean, even when it's cold here, it's not cold like it is in Jersey.
No, I agree. There's maybe like 10 days out of a year where it's just like it really is shitty cold, but you can live with that.
Yeah. And, you know, everyone needs a day or two to just, like, stay inside and do nothing anyway.
Okay, so you came out here for college. Did you go back?
I didn't. You know, after school, I stayed in Boulder. My undergraduate degree was in finance and business. And, you know, I always thought, you know, growing up outside of the city, that's what I'd do. I'd move back. I'd work on Wall Street, retire by 40. You know, the whole shebang. And
here you are wearing plaid. Yeah. Flannel.
So I went back east. I did interviews. I went out to California, lots of banks out there. And then I think both times I came back to Colorado, I had these awesome experiences. One time it was, I don't even know, it was like April or something, and I played, nine holes of golf and went skiing for half a day, and I was like, I'm not leaving Colorado. It's just not happening.
I couldn't agree more, and I've used this phrase before. It's like the New Zealand of the States.
Yeah.
'Cause you could hear like people they'll like parasail, and then they'll ski, and then they'll go surf at the end of the day. You can do that here. Like I, in my short amount of time being here, have been able to golf at least one time in my tenure every month of the year.
Yeah.
So like we do live the life, and so a lot of our listeners know that. But for our listeners out of state, they come here and they're like, oh, it's just weed and Peter Pan land.
Yeah.
You were exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's why we're all happy as fuck here.
Exactly.
The quality of life is higher and folks live longer.
Yeah, I think there's just there's also just good people. Like you see a lot of happy people here. You see a lot of healthy people. You see a lot of beautiful people. I mean, it's a great place to be. And the more, I always go back 2-3 times a year. Go back to New York, go out to California, and it's great. And those cities are definitely bigger. They had a separate element of culture we might not have here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a price to pay for that. Going grocery shopping in New York City is a pain in the ass. It's like everything is just an extra bit of effort. And so for me, the trade-off wasn't good enough to live in a city like that. And living here, and I feel like Denver, it feels like you're still at the bottom of something that's about to go kaboom. Like we're still such a young city, and things are changing so fast. I mean, especially this neighborhood. We could dive into that, but we've only been in this location for 5 years, and the change has been insane in the last 5 years. Like the development in this area, and just seeing the influx of people from all around the country. I think the word's out. I think people know.
Yeah,
we're not such a hidden gem anymore.
Hence the name of the badass podcast, No Vacancy.
Yeah.
While we mean it sardonically, we go around and talk about how fucking great it is.
Yeah.
So I can see why folks continue to flock here. I won't knock them too terribly bad for that. Well, I do have one question. So how did you go? And we're going to dive into the neighborhood. Like you mentioned, it was flourishing. We're going to talk about Rest in Peace, Tom's Home Cooking. That's a staple when I moved here.
Yep.
But I want to know how, so you interviewed for Wall Street, big banks, cut jobs like that.
Yeah.
How did you decide to find your way into the deli business?
Yeah.
And bring in the family passion.
Totally. Yeah. Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was interviewing out of state, but then definitely worked in the industry out here in Colorado. I had a couple of jobs. I was in financial sales. I was a broker out here. I sold mutual funds and retirement plans. I got into the mortgage-backed security industry and was making a shit ton of money and knew something was up. And so decided to get out of that, and then I became an analyst for the mortgage-backed security industry, helping banks figure out how much money they were actually losing on these financial instruments they had and were kind of ripped off for. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Big Short.
Yeah.
I lived through that.
Fun times.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And luckily I didn't have any money at the time to invest, so I didn't lose any money. But it kind of showed me an ugly side of that world, and I definitely wasn't happy, and I didn't want to be part of it. My then girlfriend, that's now my wife, was just like, can't believe you're coming home and you're miserable every day. You got to do something. And so I decided to become an entrepreneur. This actually wasn't my first business. I like to tell everyone I have 3 major passions in this world: food, live music, and cannabis. And so,
hey, that's like the 3 pillars of No Vacancy. We like to get high, go to concerts, and eat.
Cool.
And drink a lot.
All 3 of those.
I knew we'd get along.
Good thing.
This is going to go really, really well.
So my first business was a live event production company. It was called Green Laser Productions, and my favorite band is Phish, and the light shows they put on and the progression they've had over the years I've been seeing for the past almost 30 years. Crazy. It really inspired me, and so we focused mostly on concert lighting, and took a business approach to it, and we went after finding like the newest technology, and then putting that technology with the up and coming bands, and it was a super successful business. But
working with guys like Waffle and shit.
We were, I know Jeff. I know all those guys. We had a guy named Tom Connick. He was our in-house designer. He's lesser known, but he does bigger shows like Paul Simon. Does Lights with the Dead. Things like that. And so the bands I was more connected with, I like to say when I was in Boulder, was this golden age of Boulder. We got voted #1 party school 2 years out of the 4 years I was in college. All these bands that are now huge were just up and coming. Like Bass Nectar used to play under it was DJ Lauren. Pretty Lights would play our house parties. So like we were just very well connected to that kind of electronic scene that wasn't really big at the time. But I knew that, if you got a DJ up on stage, you need flashy lights. And so I connected.
It's going to bring hot chicks, and hot chicks bring people that will spend a lot of money on those hot chicks.
And so we connected with my homie Derek, who's Derek Vincent Smith, who is Pretty Lights. And we pitched him on the idea of getting some really cool LED technology on his tour. And that was our first client. And we did 2 tours with Pretty Lights, and that kind of put us on the map for that kind of lighting. And it was really great. And then at the time, my girlfriend, now wife, Kara, is...
shout out, Kara.
Yeah, shout out, Kara, was you got to pick one. You can't be on the road 200-plus times a year with groupies all over you and think I'm going to stay at home and be happy. So I made the choice to get out of that. During that time, I had invested some of my money in some weed grows, the caregiver model in the homes, kind of where the industry started back in 2009, 2010. And I saw big potential for it. I didn't see anyone really going big at the time, and I thought I understood the laws pretty well. And so when I got out of the lighting company, we kind of dissolved that company. I decided to get into cannabis pretty heavy, and we got a 14,000 square foot warehouse going under the caregiver model as a wholesaler. And what happened is all these laws kept changing. 1284. This is all pre-64. This is just medical, and it felt like almost every 6 months, which is kind of like a nice, good harvest cycle, the laws changed, and I had to change my model on how I did things. And it was already really stressful, being kind of in the gray area of federal legality.
Banks and how you file your taxes.
Literally had a safe room with a giant door on it where we kept all of our weed and all of our cash, and it was pretty shady. And so I decided that, that's not a long-term thing for me, but let's see what I can get out of this. And so we got a bunch of licenses, a fully functional grow. We were super profitable. And I think it was like 2011, we put our warehouse and all of our licenses up for sale. And the company that bought us at that time was really not that big. I think they had 1 or 2 spots, and now they're one of the biggest. So it was Native Roots.
Yeah, we know those guys.
So, Native Roots bought us out, and I got a nice check for that and decided to follow my first and most passion, which is food.
Man, I hope you get into I want to back a podcasting game, because you seem to have the golden touch here, my friend. Yeah, I mean, the EDM scene had not started up, getting in early with
the weed,
and then early on the herb scene, and then now you're killing the breakfast and deli scene here in Colorado by bringing what area is best known, and you probably have very familiar, ties to the northeastern, like you have the bagels of Denver.
Well, what was good about that? I mean, I think what I learned working in finance and I did cold calling, I did soulless work, right? But I felt it was necessary for me to figure what I really wanted, what made me happy. And like, if you could sell stuff that you didn't believe in, it's 10 times, if not 100 times easier to sell something you do believe in. And so I believed in what we were doing in the music scene. I believed what we were doing in the cannabis scene. On the medical side, I saw cannabis work for my mom when she was fighting cancer.